Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for His Worshipful, the Deputy Mayor of Tamworth, Councillor Ken Norkey.
Would you be seated, please? Glasses on, so I can see what I'm looking at. Right, this meeting tonight is being recorded and will be uploaded a little bit later on onto YouTube. So, if you can behave yourselves till then, thank you. Right, we have apologies tonight, and we have apologies from Councillors M. Bailey, Chris Bain, Rosie Claymore, Richard Kingston, Natalie Statham, Lee Wood, and Jan Wadrup. I do believe there is.
Thank you. I've got another apology for Councillor Jeremy Oates, who's tied up work.
Thank you very much, and that includes Jeremy Oates as well. So apologies for tonight, thank you. So we move on to item 2, to receive the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 9th and the 23rd of September. I'll ask if there's any items raised regarding the minutes. Councillor Clements.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Members will remember that I asked a question about write-offs, and I still haven't received an answer to that. I was promised I would get a written answer, so if that could be followed up, please.
I'm sure we can do that, yes, thank you. That has been noted. Any further questions? Right, can I have a mover then, please? Councillor M. Clark, and the seconder will take Councillor Pat Pallett. Thank you. All those in favour, please. That is carried. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 3. It's the declaration of interest, and I'm going to pass over to the monitoring officer for this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just to inform the Council that a dispensation has been granted under Section 33 of the Localism Act 2011 to enable members to take part in debates and vote on any matter relating to local government reorganisation between now and the vesting date of any new authority issued by the government in relation to Staffordshire, or until the next district council election, whichever is earliest.
Have any other interests to declare? I'll take that as a no then. Thank you very much. And move on to item number 4. To receive any announcements from the Mayor, Leader, members of the Cabinet or the Chief Executive. Councillor Hartley. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I want to take a moment tonight as portfolio holder responsible for assets, as ward councillor for Belgrave, and as the only ethnic minority councillor currently elected, to speak about the ongoing conversation around a mosque in Tamworth. As most members will know, in Two Gates, which is in the Belgrave ward, the Park Farm Community Centre is currently leased and used by the Tamworth Masjid Group. It isn't formally registered as a mosque, but it is the only place in Tamworth where Muslims come together and pray. The same building also serves as a true community space. They host a weekly bingo club there, food banks and fun days for community integration that are open to everyone. Recently, after the group posted online about raising funds for a more permanent space, there has been a backlash of racially motivated and deeply unpleasant commentary, including a petition opposing a mosque in Tamworth. These have been hugely based in misinformation and rumour. The group have approached the council about buying that community centre, but no sale has been agreed and there are no planning applications for any mosque anywhere in Tamworth at the present time. What troubles me most are not the rumours themselves, but the racism and intolerance that have surfaced alongside them. People often say that Tamworth is not racist, but I have personally experienced racism in Tamworth. As a brown child growing up here, I was told to take a bath and called a brownie. I've been complimented on my excellent English and, of course, asked frequently where I am really from. I've lived in Tamworth almost my whole life. My parents grew up here too. I love this town and I'm proud to serve it as a councillor, but I am not white, and that is what means that I am sometimes made to feel like I don't fully belong. That is the same thing I see happening here to the community leaders in Belgrave. Tamworth's population is 95.8% white. We are a largely homogenous town, but that does not mean that the minority here are any less part of Tamworth. Our Muslim residents want only what every other faith group already has, a safe, local place to gather, pray and belong. We saw last August how fear and misinformation can tear through our town. We must not let that happen again. Let's be honest, this conversation has not been about traffic or parking or housing. It has been about making the people who would use the mosque feel like they don't have a place here. Under the Equality Act 2010, racism means treating someone less favourably because of their race, colour, nationality or ethnic origin. Religious discrimination, including against Muslims, is also unlawful. Whilst I have experienced racism in Tamworth, it is not my overwhelming experience. Mostly, people of Tamworth are kind, generous, decent and welcoming. Tamworth is full of incredible people who are working hard to advance our society, to support our townspeople and to put us on the map. As councillors, we all have a duty to make Tamworth a place of fairness, decency and progress, to work with those groups trying to do the same and against those trying to divide us. So let's make sure that people get the right impression of our town, that we do not indulge conversations that exclude people, and that we make Tamworth a place where everyone can belong. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Orkney. We now move to the Leader of the Council. Excuse me, just a second. Councillor Daniels, you wanted to speak?
Yeah. Carry on. As part of my role, one of the things I really enjoy is getting to see smaller organisations as well as some of the larger groups that support communities in Tamworth. A new cafe has opened in Bowl Hall, Councillor Norkie, in our ward, which supports kind of mindfulness, health. They've had events to do with kind of mental well-being, and the Fusion Cafe, where it is an incredibly healthy menu. Recently, to do with health, you could have watched the Mighty Bathory Pro at the Assembly Rooms. And again, they're supporting organisations every Saturday. You can go to train there in the town centre. And speaking of the town centre, I had the pleasure recently of talking with Councillor Coates about the bowling club, where he's saying how in the spring it's going to reopen and the facility that's going to provide for residents there. But as well as small organisations, as we all know, a very big event is going to be taking place here on Sunday. I myself will be over in Bowl Hall. You'll know the amazing toppers alone over by the churches in St George's Church. But at St Editha's, there's going to be an important Remembrance Sunday event, and in the Market Square itself. And I would just like to hand over to Councillor Clements to say a little bit more, because I would just like to say a massive thank you to the work that your volunteers with Legion have been putting in over the last few weeks. There's not a shop that I've gone to I've not seen a poppy, and the opportunity to buy one and talk to people. The centre looks fantastic, as do many of the wards in the area, and that takes time and effort. And I know there's been a campaign that you've had to put up recently to say against misinformation, as Councillor Arkney's talked about, to say this event is taking place. It's going to be an amazing way for the community to come together. So if I could give the microphone to you just to tell us a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Daniels, for bringing up that. She's kind of said it all, really, but following from Councillor Arkney's very meaningful and emotional statement that she's just made, I think this year and every year going forward is much more important than the last. We live in a very volatile world at the moment, and misinformation about the parade that's always happened, apart from 2 years in COVID, we will never miss Remembrance Sunday, regardless of what style it comes in, whether that's just a wreath laying, whether that's just having a time for people to be there like we did during COVID, or where we have the full-on parade like we've got this year. So please support it. Please come out and support the Deputy Mayor, it sounds like, that's going to be there on Sunday, because there are going to be lots of people there, and we have had to put in a lot more work, because we are, while we're not a military organisation, we will have military there, and as has been mentioned and goes against everything, Martin's Law has had to come into that, and we've done a whole lot of groundwork to make sure this parade goes off very safely for everybody.
Thank you, Councillor Clements. If there's nothing further, then Councillor Dean, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor, and thank you to Nova for the statement she's just made. I'm going to make a similar statement, but I can't do it with the same background. I'm almost as emotional as Nova about this, because this is something that has really affected me. So I stand to make this statement today extremely saddened and disappointed that once again there's a need for me to refute social media misinformation. The fact that this has been compounded by the way some of the councillors have acted only deepens my frustration. So there have been some rumour and misinformation circulating about the suggestion that a mosque is being built in Tamworth, specifically in the town centre. Here are the facts. Tamworth Borough Council recently bought the former police station on Spinning School Lane as part of our plans to regenerate the Gongate area. There are no plans to build a mosque or any other place of worship on this site. Councillors will be aware of the work that's going on to formulate plans for the Gongate site. In fact, I recently learned that in the last decade there have been at least 2 former master plans commissioned, and nowhere in any of those plans has there been provision for a place of worship. Areas that have been discussed are later living provision, a transport interchange, GP practices, other healthcare facilities, a leisure centre, and of course in most of the plans the obligatory multi-storey car park. This work is something that all councillors should be aware of, especially members of the former controlling group who commissioned those previous studies. And we held an all-member briefing last December where the options were discussed. Fact 2, Tamworth Borough Council has, as Councillor Artney has said, have been approached by the local community group that leases one of our community halls, asking if we would consider selling the building to them. These are very preliminary discussions and no decision has been made. I repeat, no decision has been made because, as all the councillors in this room are aware, any decision of that kind would need to go through the democratic process. But this community group have been legitimately using that hall for prayer meetings since 2015 when they began their lease. And to my knowledge, there have never been any concerns raised by councillors or residents in all that time until now. There have been a number of councillor questions about the potential for a mosque being built in Tamworth and questions about the council's approach to managing its assets. I have to ask myself, why is that happening now? Is it because of social media campaigns fuelled by unchallenged Islamophobia? Or is it because some people seek to create community tensions for their own political gains? The reason I find this so distressing is because everyone in this chamber is aware of the hard work that has been going on by officers, members, local community groups and all our faith groups to try to halt the flow of the tension we've seen locally, especially since last August. The need for good community cohesion flows through all aspects of this council's work. We have said that as a council we will not tolerate hate crime or Islamophobia in our town. And that's what makes the way this issue has been raised within the council so appalling. And it's what keeps me awake at night for the last fortnight, I'll tell you. We know that Tamworth, like many areas in the country, is a tinderbox. I just didn't expect councillors to be the ones holding the matches. All councillors must surely know that if any proposals come forward to build a new mosque in Tamworth or to change the use of any building in the borough, it would require planning permission. This would include public consultation, where residents can have their say through the proper channels. Our council buys and sells land and property all the time. Any changes to leases or selling of assets are undertaken within the council's constitution and are democratically scrutinised. In this particular instance, the conversation is at a very early stage. So, most importantly, I want to confirm our position on faith and community. As Councillor Arkley has said, everyone has the right to belong to a religious faith and to have a place of worship. In the UK, this is protected in law. And Tamworth Borough Council works with all parts of our community to build good relations with different groups. And I will repeat, we will not tolerate hate crime or Islamophobia in our town. Spreading inaccurate information that targets people because of their religion is wrong, and it damages our communities. Racism and religious hatred have no place in Tamworth. We want all our residents of Tamworth to have every faith to feel safe and supported. And I would say if anyone does experience any or witness any hate crime, they should report it to Staffordshire Police on 101 or online. And because I think this issue is so important, and that we, as councillors, every one of us in this room, should show leadership in this area, I'd like to put forward a motion which underlines our position and reaffirms our support for all our residents. And the motion is, Tamworth Borough Council agrees that it is the duty of all councillors to promote community cohesion and counter disinformation and intolerance. And I call for a named vote.
Thank you, Councillor Dean. Right, you're aware that the leader has moved a motion and also called for a name vote. Right, thank you. We're going for the name vote. Councillor Summers, you indicated to it? No? Okay, thank you.
Mr Deputy Mayor, I'd like to second that motion if applicable.
Thank you, Councillor Couchman. Of the monitoring officer now, thank you.
Apologies, I think it's such an important motion. I think it needs to be carried forward to the next full council meeting so it could be properly considered. We could. Thank you.
Everybody happy with that?
Just so that it then can be properly advertised in accordance with the constitution and the regulations.
Okay, An officer who will explain the rules.
I do apologise, Councillor Dean. I do understand from the Constitution that a motion should be put 7 days before with the support of 5 of your members. Perhaps, obviously it's a very important issue, if your proposed motion is perhaps endorsed today by council as a kind of a show of support, then it can be put forward to the next meeting of the council for full consideration and endorsement.
Okay, everybody happy with that? Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a very important motion. Could we, on that particular procedure rule that you've quoted there, could we just vote to suspend that and pass this tonight?
Just hold on a second, let's get Rebecca. Yeah, so if we Ben's proposed, if we ask for a second. And then we can do the motion.
Right, you're making that a motion then, Councillor Clark. We need a seconder to that then, please. I'll take Councillor Doyle, thank you.
Could we confirm that at least half of the room support that motion, the suspension? Sorry, that was a confirmation that at least half of the members support that as a suspension.
Patrick, yeah.
I think that's more than half.
Okay, that's unanimous.
I think that's carried, thank you.
So now we can go to the motion that Carol's made.
Now we can go to the motion that Councillor Dean has made.
Yeah.
Tamworth Borough Council agrees that it is the duty of all councillors to promote community cohesion and counter disinformation and intolerance.
We had a seconder to that. Councillor Couchman, thank you. So, once again, we'll move to the vote.
Named vote.
Name vote, thank you. Right, name vote. Councillor Adams.
4.
Councillor Hartley.
4, thank you.
Councillor Bailey is not with us, and Councillor Bain is not here. Councillor Clark, Ben Clark.
4, Mr. Mayor.
Clark, Lee Clark.
4, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Clark, Margaret.
4, Mr Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Claymore is not here. Councillor Clements.
4, Mr Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Coates.
4, Mr Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Couchman.
4.
Councillor Daniels.
4.
Councillor Dean.
4, Mr Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Doyle.
4, Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Foster.
4, Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Hadley. 4. Councillor Jay.
4, Mr Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Kingston is not with us. Councillor Nork is sitting here and says, yeah, 4. Councillor Oates is not with us. Councillor Pallett.
4, Mr Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Price.
4, Mr Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Smith, Lewis Smith.
4.
Councillor Samuel Smith.
4.
Councillor Statham is not here. Councillor Summers.
4.
Councillor Turner.
4.
Councillor Wadrup is not with us. Councillor Wells.
4, Mr Deputy Mayor.
And Councillor Wood is not with us. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Councillor Dean.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Can I just say thank you to everyone? I really thought it was important that we all needed to tie our colours to the mast on this and be seen to be all supportive of the same thing and speaking with one voice. So thank you, everyone.
Okay, with that one, we'll move on to item 5, which is question time, to answer questions from members of the public and to the Rule 10. There are 3 questions this time from the members of the public, so I'm not going to keep reading on that. Under the rule, Emma Hopkins will ask of the portfolio holder for People Services, Engagement, Leisure and Heritage, Councillor L. Smith, the following question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think you'll understand me not standing. I hope you understand. Right, Mr Smith. In March, I asked a question in regards to Anchor Valley Pitch. It was stated the cost of the damage was just over £1,000. This conflicts with the statements and press releases. Can the councillor confirm the correct cost to the council and the taxpayer?
Thank you for the question, Mark. Yeah, so there was a slight difference in what you've mentioned, so you're right to point it out. So the loss of income from the pitch closure was around £12,000, but the actual remedial works to the pitch itself was the £1,000. So that's to basically the flood water which was on the pitch, lifted up the top layer of the turf, which had to be basically sealed back down. So, as you know, the artificial pitch was funded by the Football Foundation and Section 106 monies from housing developer contributions. So the creation of the new facility had no financial impact on the council or its taxpayers in putting it into place. The reason why I mention that is because any income that actually comes in from that surplus from the pitch is ring-fenced. It's not allowed to be allocated back to TBC general funds, but allocated to the artificial pitch itself and its maintenance and into the development of physical activity and sport in the borough, which is a stipulation of any successful Football Foundation grant application. Thank you.
Have you supplementary, Mr Hopkins?
Yes, Mr Mayor, or Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
Councillor Smith, at the March meeting, it was affirmed to me that flood damage at Anchor Valley football facility were just over £1,000. Within just a few days after the £1,000 statement, an employee of the council, Tracy Poyton, quoted that £1,000 figure yet again. Yet in the Tamworth field, costs were actually in the region of £12,000, as we stated. Which is the real figure, which I know you've answered after that. And could I ask, is there cost, again, is there any cost to the taxpayer?
Councillor Smith, thank you.
So not necessarily cost to the taxpayer in itself, because money which people pay to rent the pitch goes back into itself to fund repairs. But yeah, there is a little bit of difference in that cost, because there is a loss of income and there is the fixes itself was £1,000, because it was literally like a sealant to go back into the pitch and make sure the top layer actually stays on. So that is £1,000, and the rest, there obviously is cost around that, because the pitch would have been closed for a few months, or well, you know, a period of time.
Smith. Question number 2, once again from Mr Hopkins. We'll ask the same councillor another question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Sorry, Council, slightly repetitive. The last question, it was a bit of an overlap on the two. Right, can I ask the councillor to ask, again, I asked the councillor a question in March, what checks were made. So to ensure the facilities in Tamworth are mainly used by the taxpayers of Tamworth? I know it's still to receive an answer.
Smith?
Yeah, thank you for the next question. So priority is given to local grassroots clubs, and this was evidenced as part of the development plan for the facility that was submitted to the Football Foundation as part of the grant application process. So the development plan and its progress is reported back to the Football Foundation as part of their stringent monitoring and evaluation process. We also capture data in terms of our booking forms as to where the teams reside, along with other pertinent evaluation demographics, with priority being given to Tamworth-based teams. And in addition to this previous information provided, Derby Academy also run a foundation phase talent ID programme, which is attended by local children from the area. So despite them being from out the area as an organisation, they do give priority to children that are within Tamworth. So this weekly session was booked at an off-peak and daytime at no detriment to other local clubs. And supports our football development continuum, essentially meaning that we can provide an offer from free development sessions for local boys and girls through to a local talent ID offer.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Have you supplementary, Mr Hopkins? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. As most councillors in this room will be aware of some of the issues at Anchor Valley, especially, I'll come on to our facilities in a sec. Deer Park being one that really sticks in my mind, where very young children was cursed, for the want of a better word. So we put to a saying not to use Anchor Valley in favour of elite football teams. Tamworth being one who already have a 3G pitch but choose to rent it out, thus putting more pressure on Anchor Valley, which I think is totally wrong. And in my opinion, and I'm sure yours when asked this question, why isn't there more emphasis on local teams like Amington, Bolhor, Stonydale for that facility, and the other junior teams? Which brings me around to the reason for this question is that I was assured that you would answer this question in regards to the facilities, not only Anchor Valley, but other ones in Tamworth. The sports facility and the athletic checks being a major one for me. So what assurances can you give me tonight that you will indeed, and the council, push for these facilities to be the people that actually they're for, i.e. the taxpayers and their children of Tamworth?
Councillor Smith?
Yeah, so as I've mentioned, the teams which are using the facilities are Tamworth-based, but I do understand that there are sometimes issues in terms of other people getting into the facility. I know that the 3G pitch, when it was first put into place, as some of the councillors on the other side would know, had emphasis on like the local girls game and making sure that local people can actually get in and use that 3G pitch. So whilst I do understand your point, there is a little bit more nuance to the question, as you know. Yeah, you know what I mean. So there's a little bit more nuance to the answer than simply saying that elite clubs are being able to use it rather than other clubs. But I do see your point, and we can have a conversation afterwards if you'd like to go into a little bit more detail. I don't mind meeting up for a coffee or a beer or whatever to go through a little bit more detail, because I know you've had quite a few questions where you've came forward and you want to go into a little bit more depth. So yeah, more than happy to meet with you and go over this in a bit more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Hopkins. Thank you, Councillor Smith. Right, we'll move on to question number 3 from Mr R Brown. We'll ask the question of the Leader of the Council, Carol Dean.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Chair. Following the receipt by Tamworth Borough Council of a materials analysis report on the 20th of August this year, commissioned by the National Grid on materials sampled from north of the West Coast Main Line, north of Moor Lane, where they intend to lay a power cable, does our council leader feel that the interests of local residents, in particular regarding public health, have been properly addressed by the council employees responsible for these things? And have they prepared a comprehensive report summarising what they have done so far, along with their plans for actions they will take in the future on this matter, and at what timescales the public will see this? Thank you.
thank you for your question relating to Moor Lane, Mr Brown, and the legal materials that have been put there. You know that I share your frustrations in what is happening in Moor Lane. So I'll start by outlining that this has been a very difficult situation for the Borough Council. We don't own any of that land there, and consequently we don't have responsibility for enforcing the illegal material that's been put there. And as I previously explained at the Bowlaw residents' meetings, officers have been contacting various agencies to confirm who has the actual responsibility for this issue. I can confirm that there is an ongoing dialogue with the Environment Agency at the moment, and they have publicly stated that their officers are investigating the material on that site. Our understanding is that the Environment Agency are working with the landowner who put the materials down to find a remediation solution. We don't have any further information presently, but environmental health officers are requesting feedback and will continue to until we understand what the situation is. And I will say that I, along with my fellow Bowlaw councillors, we regularly ask for updates, and I know our officers are as frustrated with the lack of stuff coming back. We've also been in contact with public health officers at the County Council to make them aware of the situation, and today they are content to be updated as necessary. Take from that what you want. In fact, when we were finally allowed to share the report commissioned on the track by National Grid with the County Council, they simply responded with one word: thanks. So what the Borough Council has decided to do is to prepare signage to highlight to the local community that there are low levels of asbestos on the track and not to disturb the soil and the material. And I would repeat that I'm assured, and I know you ask me this question regularly, I am assured that our officers have been doing all they can to contact various agencies. We have gone through so many different ones to try and get somebody to get some resolution on this issue. Our frustration at the lack of response, you know, it's there from either receiving, this is not anything to do with us, or nothing at all. But you can be assured that together with Councillor Daniels and Councillor Norkey, I will continue to press for a resolution on this issue, because it's plagued residents there and the users of the moor for several years, so we need to get it sorted.
Thank you, Councillor Dean. Have you a supplementary, Mr Brown?
Yes, thank you, Deputy.
Thank you.
What is the council leader's reaction to my following observations, some of which you privately will have heard before, no doubt? A statement made in an article in the Tamworth Herald last week is largely made anonymously and said, the council doesn't own any part of the land in question. Planning enforcement powers do not extend to the removal of hazardous waste material. This statement, for me, is grossly inaccurate. Our council stood by and watched hazardous material being dumped as a track, in quotes, on property which was and is within its planning jurisdiction. Furthermore, there was no planning grant to build a track, even if constructed or normally accepted materials. From the outset, all access to land north of the West Coast Main Line underpass was readily controlled, planning permission or not, because from the south side of the underpass northwards is a bridleway, subject to the terms of the Road Traffic Act 1988, Section 34. A timely planning department request to the local police force could have ensured that no unauthorised traffic would be allowed to any of the land via that bridleway. It seems that our planning department, to me, unilaterally decided not our problem, even though a simple solution was available to them as soon as the landlocked landowner began to use vehicles across that restricted area before a track was laid at all. Our council's chief executive, I believe, was misinformed therefore by council employees when he stated, "We've taken all action available to us through planning enforcement." Planning knew of the illicit traffic movements on the bridleway via multiple complaints from local residents years ago. Regardless of which authority owned the problem of what further steps would be required, our council, it seemingly failed to inform local residents of the now known risk of asbestos exposure immediately it was informed via the 20th of August National Grid report, which suggests that someone within our council took a unilateral decision that the levels found were of no consequence. That employee should be identified along with all other employees who opined similarly and kept that key knowledge secret from exposed and vulnerable residents.
Mr. Brown, I appreciate what you're saying there. Could you get to the question, please? Thank you.
The question has already been stated. This is the detail of the question. Thank you. There's only a little bit left now anyway.
Okay, we'll allow you to finish then. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That important and perhaps life-critical information, apart from a few who had conscientious objections to that potentially deadly secret, is believed to have been kept secret from residents via a secret directive from our council's legal department. It would seem that our council have never conducted even a cursory examination of the illicitly laid and illicitly constituted track itself. Only last week a small party of residents and myself did a 10-minute examination of the surface and found many examples of that surface having dangerous hazards, wire, metal strips, protruding rods, etc., which pose an injury threat to pets, children and adults crossing it. One local lady has already been tripped and injured and needed hospital treatment by such a hazard. I have photographs available as an internet reference which I can give you later. Finally, I believe that a public inquiry is not just desirable but necessary. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Councillor Dean.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I'm not going to be able to come back on all of them because I couldn't write them down, but I know you will give me your paper. What I will come back and say is around the planning issue. Since being involved in this, I do feel that our planning team have done as much as they can, and you will remember when we had the issue go to the planning meeting, their recommendation was on our side. So, you know, I do feel that they've taken this seriously, and I know our lead officer is as frustrated as I am with what can and cannot be done. And it's a really, really difficult situation because of those different tracts of land that are there, who some people say is owned by Mr. whoever, and then it doesn't no deeds come forward. And you can understand the issues that officers will have in making decisions about a piece of land that they don't know who owns it. And that's another thing about the traffic movements. I've asked, and Councillor Daniels as well, has asked the questions about going back to the paperwork in the first place about how many traffic movements are allowed. So that bit actually is one of the questions we've got in at the moment. With regards to the report, yes, this did come through in August, and as soon as I saw it, I practically had a fit, because it's like, we need to do something. And I contacted officers straight away and said, what are we going to do about this? Who is responsible? But it wasn't our report. And at the end of the day, we were told by National Grid, who'd commissioned it, that we were not allowed to share it. It took 2 letters from me to the Chief Executive of National Grid to beg them, basically, that we were able to share that report, because it is in the best interest of our residents. So we have got that out now. That's why we've been able to get an Environment Agency involved, because instead of just saying to them, we think there's a problem, we've been able to share that report, which will give them the technical stuff that they need to make that, that decision. As I've said, they are in contact with the landowner. They've been down there to talk about what remediation needs to be done. I have asked several times this week and last week if we've had any feedback on that conversation, but so far we haven't got that feedback. But you know, the emails that Sarah and I send all the time to the planning office asking if we've had anything back is daily. So we do feel it's moving a bit, and I think, as we said at the last residents' meeting, we do feel as if things have moved on a little bit, but it's all so slow. And as I said before, I share your frustration. We just need to keep plugging away at it. But if you give me that paper, I will look at all the bits mentioned in it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Thank you, Councillor Dean. Right, we'll move on then to questions from members. And on Rule 11, Councillor T. Clements will ask of the Leader of the Council, Carol Dean, the following question. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. When you walk across the Castle Bridge, the back of the buildings to the right have been left in an unsightly and in urgent need of some TLC. Can the Leader give us an update to what is happening and when to tidy this area and the buildings up?
Thank you for that question, Councillor Clements. As councillors will be aware, the buildings on Market Street, the backs of which are now visible, now that the Nationwide Building Society has been demolished, form part of the Future High Street Funds project. These buildings are going to be refurbished to a standard so that they can be let out to town centre businesses. The timetable for refurbishment is for completion by next summer, with the planning application going to committee shortly. No comments there, yeah. I would remind all councillors that regular updates are given to ISAG on the status of the Future High Street Funds. And I'll read from the ISAG papers that went a couple of weeks ago on the 13th of October, which gives the answer to this. The initial design and opening up works scope for Market Street properties has been prepared and has had Conservation Officer input. This was split into 2 stages, an enabling and opening up work package followed by the main works. This approach was necessary to understand the true condition of the buildings beneath the existing finishes, and this has been the problem with these buildings. The first phase of the enabling works has been completed. This consisted of an environmental clean and the clearance of excess overgrown vegetation at the rear of the building, which is why we can now see the state of the buildings. Further enabling works were also undertaken with opening up works as agreed with Historic England and the Conservation Officer to better understand the condition of the buildings before we progress to main works. Following this, the next phase of work consisted of weatherproofing with the wall holes and water ingress being remedied. The planning application for the Market Street properties has been submitted, and our aim is that this will go to, the 11th of November Planning Committee. Yeah. With the start on site targeted for the end of November, but we are waiting for a finalised date. And this project is likely to be completed in early 2026. Just a point on this, I'm sure all councillors will agree that the Market Street properties are very special buildings. Unfortunately, due to the lack of maintenance that these buildings have received over several years, the scope of the work needed to bring them back into use was huge. So we are committed to looking at all the council's assets to ensure that this neglect is not happening to other council buildings.
Have you supplementary? No, thank you. Right, we'll move on to question number 2, still from Councillor Clements to Councillor Dean. Thank you.
Thank you again, Deputy Mayor. As a pedestrian, when you go up or down Cole Hill, the whole of the area is collapsed and dangerous to anyone with a disability. This is due to the heavy machinery going up and down for the new college and its surrounding areas. Will the Leader give some, I can't read my own writing, give some timeline as to when this will be fixed and safe for all residents, especially those with disabilities?
Thank you for that question again, Councillor Clements, and thank you for raising this issue with me. It's something that I personally sought to remedy, and I raised it at the Future High Street Board during the summer. I even had our Chief Executive walk that area with me to see the extent of the damage, which I also thought would be the result of the construction lorries. So it was brought to the Future High Street Board. But As an ex-county councillor, you'll be aware that the county council are responsible for the highways, including Coal Hill. Tamworth Borough Council have asked representatives from highways to repair the damage caused by the college's contractor and for them to make the appropriate arrangements with the contractors as required. We've also liaised with the college, who support our stance in asking for this paving to be remedied. The County Council agreed to liaise with Kia, who were the contractors, and this was back in July, although it's clear that this has not yet been actioned. I've asked our officers to chase for an update, but today we've heard nothing from them. But I will agree with you, the situation there is absolutely awful, and unless you're in trainers, you know, you're taking your life in your hand walking down there. So we do need to keep on to them.
Thank you, Councillor Dean. Supplementary, Councillor Clements? Thank you. Right, we have questions from Councillor Kingston 2 and Councillor Wadsworth 2. These will be answered in writing. Thank you. Right, we'll move on to item 6, the appointment of committees. This is due to the political balance, and I'm going to hand over to the Leader of the Council.
Thank you, Mr Deputy
Thank
Mayor. Everyone should have received today a copy of the new arrangements, and it is what it is. If there is any issues with it, then if you can speak to Democratic Services, but it's been a tough job to change it yet again, but we hope we're there and it's to everyone's benefit.
Thank you, Councillor Dean. Is there any questions? No? Anyone wish to speak? No. Right, we'll move to the vote then, please. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. And we'll move on again then to item 7, local government reorganisation business case. I'll hand straight over to the Leader of the Council, Caroline. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. So tonight I present a pivotal report for Tamworth Borough Council. It's our proposal for local government reorganisation, and this is in response to the government's white paper entitled Power and Partnership, Foundations for Growth, and the English Devolution and Community Empowerment Bill. I know you will all be aware of the amount of work that's gone into this document, preparing it, and I'd like members to join me in thanking Amadip and her team for this fantastic piece of work. I hope everybody has got a copy of our submission. It does now seem hard to remember a time when we weren't consumed by local government reorganisation, but I'm very pleased to be bringing this to members today. We've been working collaboratively with the other Mid and Southern Staffordshire authorities in work to develop and endorse, which we've developed and endorsed an interim plan in March 2025. The question to ask is why this model, and that is because it reinforces local identity with boundaries reflecting real communities and daily life. It modernises public services, integrating planning, housing, transport and social care for joined up, efficient support. It promotes economic vitality, attracting investment and fostering strong partnership. It will enhance, oh sorry, that's gone really, really weird. Sorry. It will enhance financial resilience. That's probably why it went funny at that point, because anything to do with finances. Strengthening governance and delivering recurring savings. It advances devolution, positioning us for a full and fair role in the emerging mayoral strategic authority. It will strengthen our community voice with active engagement and transparent decision making, support early intervention and prevention, improving outcomes for residents and reducing demand on services, and it embeds partnership, working with businesses, the voluntary sector, schools and public sector partners. One point I would like to make is that something that we've done really well in this, that all of the authorities that have taken part in this, there were over 16,700 residents who participated in this public survey, and the strong support was for the 3 unitary model. And the figure that we keep quoting is that 75% were in favour, but there is more to that. It isn't that 25% weren't, it was that half and half. Some were against it, but the other percentage hadn't got an opinion. So the overwhelming majority backed the 3 unitary model. And residents wanted to prioritise local services, councillors who listen and value for money. So probably nothing new there, but something that we always have to take account of. Our proposal has been backed by our MP and other local MPs, local businesses, voluntary organisations and public sector partners. And it aligns us with the ambitions of Lichfield and South Staffordshire councils, and it's consistent with the national policy and the latest analysis from the District Councils network. We have done as much research on this to make sure that we have taken account of everything and have come up with the right proposal. So after rigorous assessment against the government criteria and that important consultation with our residents, our council is working in partnership with Lichfield District Council and South Staffordshire, and we've identified that preferred option, which is to establish 3 unitary councils within Staffordshire, which would be North, South East and South West. So the recommendations that are in front of you is that this council endorses the preferred option to establish 3 unitary councils, 1 in the north, 1 in the southeast and 1 in the southwest, and it recommends it to Cabinet for approval on the 13th of November. Number 2, that council recommends Cabinet submit this option to government by the deadline of the 28th of November, and that council delegates authority to myself, the Chief Executive and the Section 151 officer to approve minor changes prior to the submission. So in conclusion, it needs to be said this is a moment to shape the future of local government in Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent, and it's rooted in evidence, partnership and the voice, most importantly, the voices of our residents. This proposal meets the government criteria and crucially it protects our local identity, which was very important to our residents. So I would commend this proposal to you and ask for your support, please.
Thank you, Councillor Dean. We swiftly move on to any questions. Councillor Coates. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Do I stand up or not? Yeah. Sorry.
Can I just interrupt before you do speak? Thank you. Overlook that one. We need a proposer and seconder. You're proposing then, Councillor Dean, and Councillor L. Smith is seconding. All those in favour? No? We're trying to move on quick. Any questions?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm all for this one. The question I've got is, when you say little small changes, could you give me an example of a small change that you can authorise without coming to council? That's all I want, an example, please.
I would probably say no, I can't, but we're not anticipating anything major. If we needed to change it to that extent, then it would come back to this chamber.
Any further questions? Anyone wish to speak? I'll take that as a no as well. Right, we'll move to the vote then. Please, all those in favour? Anybody against? Any Right. One against. It's carried, thank you. This is Councillor Hartley. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. This report asks Council to approve the establishments of formal operating budgets for Ankerside Shopping Centre for the current and future financial years. Members will recall that the Council took control of Ankerside last year. At that time, there was a real risk that the centre could close, something that would have had serious impact on local businesses, jobs and residents who rely on the town centre every day. Bringing it back under the council control ensured that we could keep Ankerside open, protect our local economy and support the regeneration of the town centre. Since then, we've been working closely with our partners, New River as asset managers and Knight Frank as centre managers to stabilise the operation. That work has also given us a much clearer understanding of the centre's finances and helped identify where costs can be managed more effectively. There is a need to set up an operating budget to address the income and expenditure for the centre. This budget will ensure that all financial activities are planned and monitored effectively. The report before Council tonight asks members to approve 3 recommendations. 1, Council approves the establishment of the budget as set out. 2, the Council approves the return of £1,123,000 from the current operating budget to reserves. 3, Council notes the release of £520,000 from reserves to fund urgent health and safety works that have now been identified by the centre managers. Those health and safety works, just to be clear, include essential repairs to the lifts, fire systems, fire doors and to the car park area, which means that the building remains safe and welcoming for everyone who uses it whilst we consider what the future of the centre looks like. I move the recommendations as set out in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hartley. Have we a seconder? That's Councillor Dean. Thank you. Right. Is there any questions? Thank you. Anyone wish to speak? Councillor Samuel Smith. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Just some comments, basically. I'm not going to be voting in favour of this. So first of all, I mean, looking at the budget, essentially the projections as well, it's not really going to make any money. And I think the risk, and by the way, on the budget, Ankerside is spelt wrong as well. So just, adds to the whole mess, in my opinion, that is Ankerside and assets in general. I would suggest it's not really going to make any money. So that being said, it's a massive liability. I think the risks are great. It's something that we're going to keep having to pour money into. The maintenance of it is going to be out of this world. I was in there the other day with the family, and it was like stepping into a shopping mall in North Korea. It's in a real bad state, and you're not going to entice anyone else in there. The rates are going to be too substantial. The service charges. I would honestly say that the best approach with this is to revert back to the master plan and see what opportunities are on there. I would suggest demolition personally. I would make it into an attractive green space. We need to draw people into Tamworth, and that's one way of doing it. And yeah, it's going to be a massive liability, is basically the summary I would suggest. So I can't support it.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. You wish to speak, Councillor Hartley?
I know that wasn't a question. Just to say, the budgets right now are to do the repair works that we need to do right now to make sure it's safe for visitors. There is work and consultation happening about a mid-term strategy for Ankerside, and it is definitely on our agenda to really seriously think about the future of Ankerside. I agree with you that it's not. We don't need shopping malls like we used to when it was in its heyday. So this report is about the budgets being allocated in a way that means we can make those health and safety improvements right now to keep the centre open. The mid-term and long-term strategy for Ankerside, and very short-term actually, are things that we are really taking in hand and really thinking about, because lots of that is absolutely true, and I agree with you.
Thank you, Councillor Hartley. Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Jay.
Thank you. Just briefly, I agree with Councillor Smith. I mean, this is the tip of the iceberg, and you'll keep coming back for more and more and more. So I agree that we need to quickly move on to a proper strategy for it.
Thank you, Councillor J. Anybody else wish to speak on this? Councillor Clark, Margaret.
Oops, thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Now, you all know what I'm going to say. This is not the pearl in our oyster at the moment, is it? No. But, you know, pearls can be found in many different places. I think I take Councillor Sam Smith's comments, certainly, and there is some justification for your comments. Thank you. However, I do feel that we could think outside of the box and we could utilise a great deal more. It's a shame that the security level is not good enough for it to be an extension of Tamworth Castle and the events that take place there, because they are squeezed a little for space. But there are a great many artefacts that could come on show here. There are requests for a museum, as you know, because Tamworth has so much history and no flipping museum, which I shall go on about until I get one. Okay? However, what I'm trying to say is, let us utilise the place as it is at the moment. Let us try to embellish it with people coming back into it. Maybe the people who didn't get an opportunity to go to Town Hall Place. You know, there are always ways to try things, and there are always new people coming towards Tamworth at the moment. We need a tourist information centre. We need a museum. Oh, I said that, sorry. I just would like us to think a little wider as to what we could possibly do apart from giving up and making it into yet another green space that may or may not be of interest. We can utilise it during a whole day. There are a lot of volunteer groups who may be able to assist us, not necessarily charities, but people who can make the money to pay us a decent rent, because that's the problem, isn't it? You know, we've got to make it pay. And it can pay, but we have got to think, what can we do to attract the footfalls that we require? So please don't give up on it automatically. I know we've got a couple of years to spare. Let's use them to be more optimistic. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Anybody else wish to speak? I'll take that as a no then. We're going to move to the vote. Please, all those in favour? All those against? Abstaining? 2. That is carried, thank you. Right, we will move on to item 9 now. As I said, this is to exclusion of the press and public. I will hand over now to the monitoring officer to read this out. Thank you.
You've done the hard work. Yes, thank you. So in accordance with the provisions of the Local Authorities Executive Arrangements, Meeting and Access to Information England Regulations 2012 and Section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the press and public be excluded from the meeting during the consideration of the following business on the grounds that it involves the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraphs 1 and 2 of Part 1 of Schedule 12A to the Act, and the public interest in withholding the information outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information to the public.